All right. So my doctoral degree, the journey, is a journey about faith and what I'm calling my mustard seed faith journey. So um, I defended my dissertation on July the 30th. Building up to that day, I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry, a lot of am I good enough? I had a lot of doubt leading up to that actual date. One, because I was at the very end of my time on my degree. So, for every program, there's a certain amount of time that you must complete your degree. And if you do not complete your degree in that amount of time, then you're done. It's over. And for me, luckily, I had a department, I had a chair, I had an academic advisor who was with me in my life. And at every time I needed a petition to extend my expected graduation date, they were there for me. Because I walked into this journey, I think like most people do, thinking that I'm going to complete it within 4 to 6 years. Actually, for me, I said 4 years. And the reason why I said 4 years is because I was that student. I completed my undergraduate degree in 4 years. I knew my major from the time that I got in. I loved it and I kept it all the way throughout. And not only that, but I was determined to graduate with honors. So I wasn't just going to graduate in 4 years. I was going to graduate with honors because it was always my plan to get my doctoral degree. And you had to have a certain GPA to get into psychology programs at the time. Um, so I was that girl, right? But after undergrad, I was so stressed out and so tired. I took a year off from my studies, and I was an AmeriCorps member at an organization here in Atlanta called Hands on Atlanta. And they had an education program, and they had an elementary, middle, and high school program. And I was in the high school program. And I was a team leader over 3 local high schools, and there were 3 members on my team. And the overall goal of that program was so that students would get their 75 hours of community service hours so they would graduate. That is a requirement in Atlanta public schools. So for that year, I did AmeriCorps, and I was really like, is this what I want to do? And I had taken the GRE. I'd applied to clinical psych programs because I thought I wanted to be a family therapist. I'd interviewed, I'd gone on interviews for programs and all that. And I was like, this is just not what I want to do. I have no interest in talking to people with issues all day. And not knowing how that was going to impact and affect me and how I was feeling. And so I didn't want to go that route. But I was in the schools, and at the time, they were just enacting No Child Left Behind. And I could see how the policy was impacting how the schools were run, how teachers were teaching, how students were responding, and I gained interest in that. And so I started looking at education policy programs and what that meant, and I don't even know how that came to me. I don't know Google. I don't know how that came to me at the time, but I did that, and I said, well, I'm not ready yet, so I'll apply for a master's program, and I'll work full time. And after my year of service was over, I worked for Hands on Atlanta as a corporate volunteer coordinator, which meant that I was responsible for partnering with corporations to plan their volunteer engagement activities for their staff. So whether that was with Atlanta Gas, Atlanta or Delta, or with the local law firms in the area, I was one of the persons on my team who worked with corporations to plan their volunteer projects. Well, this was not really what I wanted to do. Like, I did not enjoy planning volunteer projects. I love volunteering, I love service, but I didn't enjoy that work. Really, because my focus was somewhere else. And I just started my master's program and had gotten accepted into Georgia State as in their urban policy studies program. And my minor or focus was policy analysis and social policy. All of this was geared toward me getting a better understanding of ed policy. I worked full time for the majority of that program, and I got out in 2 years. And I also graduated with honors from my master's program. So, of course, I was going to go into my PhD program with the same expectation because why? I've done it before. Why would it be any different now? Well, it was different. So, I went in to my PhD program at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. You can see University of Illinois. In 2005. Okay? Mind you, what year are we in right now? 2018. So 13 years. I went in like, I think most students, like hopeful, full of life. But that hope and that light was quickly dimmed when, one, my academic advisement didn't go how I thought it was going to go. I didn't know what I wanted to research. And so when you don't know what you want to research or what area you really want to go into, it makes it a little bit more difficult to chart your path for the rest of your program. And so because I didn't know, and so many things interest me, and my advisor at the time had many different focuses and a very large group of advisees and mentees, that our conversations were a little stunted. And I can't even say it was all his fault because it was mine as well. You know, it takes two. And I just was confused and didn't know. And finally, I guess maybe about a year or two, after 2 years, I had finished pretty much all of my major courses. But there, was some interest, and I was like, I just want to quit. Like, I don't think this is for me. I'm in Illinois. It's cold. It's miserable. I don't know anyone here. I'm slowly making friends, but not like the ones I had at home, and I was just a little lost. And so because I was a little lost, but I'm a person who is determined and focused still, I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And my now academic advisor, who was on my committee, Dr. Span, I went into his office one day and was like, Dr. Span, I want to quit. I'm not coming back next semester. And he was like, no, don't quit. Just give it one more semester. You're a great student. You have such great potential. I'm going to work with you. Whatever you need to get through, we're going to get you through. Just, can you commit to one more semester? And I said, all right, I can commit to one more semester. I can do one more semester. And it seemed like every semester thereafter, it was like, can you commit to another semester? It was a semester by semester commitment. And then at this time, I started meeting more people. So I met Casey George, was in my class. She was one of my cohorts, and she was focused and was further along than I was. And she was like, you know what, I think you really should talk to Dr. Trent. We're doing this research. And, so it was great to have someone like Casey, because Casey kind of introduced me and gave me a focus that I didn't have. Dr. Span was pushing me to meet Dr. Trent, and so it's like, okay, I'm open. And I'd started, I think by then, working in the College of Engineering, doing one of their summer bridge programs, and I was like, okay, cool, So I think I met Dr. Trent, and we started talking, and he knew my background in STEM and evaluation from when I worked at Spelman before I started my PhD program. And we just kind of clicked in terms of research and a mentor and a mentee. And I was like, I finally have somebody. I'm finally on a path and a direction. And so as part of my degree program, there's so many different hurdles and milestones that you have to get through. You have to do a research specialization. And at that time, I think there was qualitative, quantitative, and evaluation. I selected evaluation. The evaluation track was not in my department. It was mainly in the ed psych department. And you had to take mixed methods and things like that. And you had to do a research specialization project. So I had to do that. I had to take qualifying exams, and you had to do 2 qualifying exams in your area. And so normally, in order to move your process along in your PhD program, everything that you write should be gearing you toward your dissertation, so you're not behind, right? In theory, makes sense. Your research focus, you're working with your advisor, you have your team, you're working, you're getting research, and so everything you're writing is to gear you toward your dissertation. Well, that didn't happen for me. So that didn't happen for me. Like, my writing was all over the place. My topic was all over the place. I had finally settled in on a topic, which was underrepresented minorities and their persistence in STEM, but it was really focused on black people. It was really focused on that. And so my writing has started to gear toward that. And I was going to use the program that I was working with as my data, my research source. At the same time, again, I'm working in the College of Ed as a program manager. I'm still a full-time student. And in my relationship with Dr. Trent and with Casey, they let me know about an NSF grant. And they were like, hey, we're writing this protocol for this interview as a part of our grant. We would like to interview you and you could be a tester. And I was like, okay, great. So we go through the process, and at the end, I'm like, these questions that you're asked, like the practitioners, people that are actually doing the work, are not going to answer the questions or get you what you're looking for. So we ended up having a whole conversation about that, and they changed their protocol. And then Dr. Trent asked me to join their research team. And I was all for it, right? So now I have my research assistantship with Dr. Trent, and it was a whole team. It was a good team. It was Casey, Montrisha, Blanca, Dr. Baber, Dr. Trent. We had a good core group of us that were working on this grant. And mind you, all of them are now doctors. Like Montrisha and Blanca, they came in after I did, and they've been done a long time ago. So congratulations, docs. Casey, who was in my cohort, and then she graduated in 2009 or 2010. They were now doctors, right? And I'm still sitting here. So we do this project, and I'm like, I'm making forward progress, and I think by this point, I might have been year 5, right? So at year 5, I should be at the point of defending. Well, I was at year 5, just at the point of doing my qualifying exams. And my qualifying exams were not good. So I actually had so many revisions on my exam, so before I passed. So you have to pass those in order to go to the next step. Well, in between this time, the College of Engineering had decided that they didn't want me working on that project anymore. They were making a change, and our grant funding was decreasing because of how many years we had been in the grant. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? And my friend Sarita was in Atlanta, and she was like, I have an opportunity for you to come and be a program evaluator for a for a nonprofit here in Atlanta. And I was like, okay, I need a salary, I need benefits. These were things that I need, because I was like, everything was coming to an end in Champaign. I needed some health insurance because of some other things that was going on with me. And I made a decision at year 5.5 to move to Atlanta, to come back home and continue my studies. I'm going to pause the video right here because I'm going to make that part 1 before I get to part 2. All right? Okay. If you want to, continue on to part 2, but if not, I understand. This was a pretty long video. So, see you in a few.